On Christmas Eve, 2002, in the quiet city of Modesto, California, a young pregnant woman disappeared. Her name was Laci Peterson. She was 27 years old, full of life, and just weeks away from giving birth to her first child. A boy she and her husband Scott planned to name Connor. By nightfall, she was gone. What began as a missing persons report soon evolved into one of the most talked about criminal cases in modern American history. It was a case filled with mystery, deceit, and betrayal. A story that would captivate millions, question the justice system, and divide public opinion for decades. This is the story of Laci Peterson. Laci was known as the kind of person who lit up every room she entered. Friends described her as warm, energetic, and endlessly optimistic. She grew up in California's Central Valley, attended California Polytechnic State University, and later married Scott Peterson in 1997. Scott, on the surface, was charming, polite, ambitious, well-spoken. He and Laci seemed to have the perfect marriage. They bought a modest home in Modesto, planted flowers in the garden, and often walked their dog Mackenzie around the neighborhood. To everyone around them, they were the picture of happiness, the young couple everyone admired. But behind the facade, something darker was growing. It was December 24, 2002, a cold but peaceful morning. Laci had plans to prepare for a family Christmas dinner. Neighbors later said they saw her walking Mackenzie around 10 a.m. That same morning, Scott Peterson claimed he left home early to go fishing at the Berkeley Marina, roughly 90 miles away. He said he planned to return by afternoon. When he got back, the house was quiet. The dog was found wandering outside, leash still attached. Laci was nowhere to be found. Scott called his mother-in-law, Sharon Rocha, asking if Laci was with her. She wasn't. By evening, Sharon reported her daughter missing. Within hours, Modesto police launched a search. Volunteers canvassed neighborhoods, posted flyers, and scoured the countryside. The case quickly drew national attention. A young, pregnant woman missing on Christmas Eve. Television crews arrived. The story spread like wildfire. Every news channel carried Laci's photo, her bright smile, her round belly, her promise of new life. The Petersons' house became the epicenter of media attention. Scott gave interviews pleading for his wife's safe return. But something felt. His tone seemed detached. Reporters noticed that he never shed a tear. Even family members began to wonder, why didn't he seem desperate? As days passed, investigators dug deeper. They noticed inconsistencies in Scott's story. He said he had gone fishing that morning, but he couldn't produce a fishing license from that day. He mentioned buying bait, but receipts showed something else, a purchase of a boat, made just weeks earlier, that Laci never knew about. Detectives also discovered that Scott had recently modified his truck, removing a tarp and rearranging items in the back. Then came the revelation that changed everything. A woman named Amber Frey came forward. She revealed that she had been in a romantic relationship with Scott Peterson, and that he had told her he was a widower. Amber said Scott claimed his wife had died, even before Laci's disappearance. The public sympathy for Scott evaporated overnight. The story became a national obsession. Day after day, TV networks ran updates, speculation, and talk show debates. Scott's double life fascinated the public. A husband living a lie, a missing pregnant woman, and a web of deceit that seemed to grow with every new revelation. Reporters followed every move, every expression. His calm demeanor, once seen as composure, now looked like guilt. Police searched his home, his truck, and his boat. They drained nearby reservoirs, combed through phone records, and collected physical evidence from his warehouse. Still, no body was found. 4 months later, in April 2003, a couple walking their dog along the San Francisco Bay shoreline found something horrifying. The body of a female, later identified as Laci Peterson, had washed ashore. Nearby, the remains of her unborn son were discovered. Both had been in the water for months. The fetus showed signs of late-term development, consistent with being alive when the mother was killed. Autopsy reports indicated that Laci had likely been strangled or suffocated, though decomposition made it difficult to be certain. Weights and cords were found near the body, suggesting someone had attempted to anchor her to the bottom of the bay. The location, the very same area where Scott Peterson claimed he had gone fishing on the day Laci disappeared. 2 days later, police arrested Scott Peterson in San Diego. He had dyed his hair blonde, grown a beard, and was carrying nearly $15,000 in cash, several cell phones, and camping equipment. Authorities believed he was preparing to flee to Mexico. He was charged with 2 counts of murder, one for Laci and one for their unborn son, Connor. The country watched in disbelief. The husband who once appeared heartbroken was now accused of killing his pregnant wife. The trial began in 2004 in Redwood City, California. The prosecution presented a mountain of circumstantial evidence: Scott's secret affair, his strange behavior, his lack of emotion, and the location of the bodies. They argued that he killed Laci at home, disposed of her body in the bay, and then lied about his whereabouts. The defense countered that no physical evidence directly linked Scott to the murder. There was no murder weapon, no eyewitness, and no confirmed cause of death. But the emotional weight of the case was overwhelming. Amber Frey testified, recounting Scott's lies in heartbreaking detail. The jury listened to recordings of Scott telling Amber he was in Paris even while attending candlelight vigils for his missing wife. Public opinion had already decided his guilt. After months of testimony, deliberation, and media pressure, the jury returned its verdict in November 2004. Guilty of first-degree murder for Laci Peterson. Guilty of second-degree murder for the death of their unborn child, Connor. In March 2005, Scott Peterson was sentenced to death. The courtroom erupted in tears, anger, and relief. For Laci's family, it was a bittersweet victory, justice, but no closure. Her mother, Sharon Rocha, said, "There is no punishment that can ever bring Laci and Connor back." Scott Peterson's legal team filed numerous appeals. They argued that the trial was tainted by intense media coverage and biased jurors. In 2020, after years of legal battles, the California Supreme Court overturned his death sentence, citing significant errors in jury selection. In 2021, Scott Peterson was resentenced to life imprisonment without parole. He remains incarcerated at Mule Creek State Prison in Ione, California. To this day, he maintains his innocence. His family continues to fight for a retrial, while Laci's family insists that justice was already served. The Laci Peterson case became a turning point in American criminal history. It raised questions about how media coverage can shape justice, and how public opinion can influence the outcome of a trial. It also inspired numerous documentaries, books, and TV specials, from Dateline NBC to the Laci Peterson story. Forensic experts still study the case as an example of how circumstantial evidence, when layered, can form a powerful narrative of guilt. But beyond the headlines, it's a human story about love, lies, and the dark capabilities hidden beneath an ordinary life. 20 years later, the story of Laci Peterson still haunts America. It is a story about a young woman who should have become a mother, about a family forever scarred, and about a justice system constantly questioned. It's a reminder that evil doesn't always look like evil. Sometimes it looks like someone you trust. Someone who smiles in family photos. Someone who says, "I love you," before taking everything away. Laci Peterson's name lives on not as a case number, but as a symbol of truth that fought to surface from the depths of deception. And for millions who followed her story, one question remains: how well can we ever truly know the person we love?